Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Steelers LB sends strong message on Mason Rudolph, QB situation. Pittsburgh Steelers edge rusher Nick Herbig delivered a message on Mason Rudolph and the team's quarterback depth entering off-season workouts. There aren't a lot of NFL pundits excited about the prospects of quarterbacks Mason Rudolph or Will Howard potentially starting for the Pittsburgh Steelers during the 2025 season. But don't include Steelers edge rusher Nick Herbig in that group. Herbig expressed confidence in who the Steelers have on their quarterback depth chart while appearing on the Not Just Football podcast with Cameron Hayward on Tuesday. I mean, Tom Brady was 6th round, right? We got a Big Ten guy. Ohio State guy. We got Mason Rudolph. He's always in the gun, in the slinger. We got options, Herbig told Hayward. We got options. I like our options right now. I do. Hayward notably agreed with Herbig, also saying he liked the team's options. The Steelers have added 3 quarterbacks to their roster this offseason with Rudolph, Howard, and Skylar Thompson. In NFL free agency, the Steelers parted with Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, and Kyle Allen. Rudolph agreed to a 2-year contract to return to Pittsburgh after leaving for the Tennessee Titans last offseason. The Steelers selected Howard at number 185 overall in the 6th round of the 2025 NFL Draft. Hayward, along with fellow podcast guest and Steelers defender Keanu Benton, laughed at Herbig's response to Hayward's question about the team's quarterback situation. Hayward also commented that the Herbig and Benton have learned when it comes to answering questions from the media. With that in mind, it's worth wondering how genuine Herbig's answer was. It's also very possible the podcast edited Herbig's answer to Hayward's question. Still, there's likely at least some truth to Herbig's response. Rudolph struggled with the Titans, posting a 1-4 record as a starter and throwing 9 touchdowns with 9 interceptions in 8 games. He also had 1,530 passing yards while averaging 6.7 yards per attempt. But Steelers players are very familiar with Rudolph. The veteran quarterback led Pittsburgh to 3 consecutive victories to end the 2023 season, which clinched a playoff berth for the team. That gave Benton and Herbig their first NFL playoff experience. The Steelers added both defenders, who each played at Wisconsin, as part of the 2023 class. The team selected Benton in the 2nd round while grabbing Herbig in the 4th. Comparing Howard to Tom Brady is obviously a stretch. That's the comparison pretty much everyone makes whenever a quarterback goes off the board in the 6th round. The New England Patriots drafted Brady at number 199 overall in the 6th round during the 2000 draft. But it's not surprising Herbig and Hayward are excited about what the rookie signal caller could potentially do. The Steelers defenders avoided talking about Aaron Rodgers when Hayward presented the team's quarterback room as a topic. But Hayward previously addressed the possibility of Rodgers playing for the Steelers. I ain't doing that darkness retreat, Hayward said on his podcast on March 18. I don't need any of that crap. Either you want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler or you don't. That's simple, that's the pitch. If you want me to recruit, that's the recruiting pitch. Pittsburgh Steelers, if you want to be part of it, so be it. If you don't, no skin off my back. Hayward gave that answer to a question about what the pitch was to convince Rodgers to come to Pittsburgh. The Steelers' defensive captain provided a somewhat different answer to a pitch for Wilson last year. Hayward, though, tried to walk back his comments on Rodgers within a few days after making them. To avoid any further controversy, Hayward and his teammates rightfully avoided Rodgers as a topic Tuesday. Instead, they focused on the positives of what the team already has behind center. Former NFL DL scorches Steelers for passing on Shedeur Sanders, an absolute embarrassment. Former NFL defensive lineman Chris Canty believes the Pittsburgh Steelers will regret passing on Shedeur Sanders. Sanders, who went in the 5th round to the Cleveland Browns, was heavily linked to the Steelers in the NFL draft process, and they still have yet to land a veteran quarterback. Canty says that with Sanders in the AFC North, this could escalate to the worst era of the entire Mike Tomlin era in Pittsburgh. Meanwhile, the Pittsburgh Steelers don't have a legitimate starting NFL quarterback on their roster, so it got me to thinking, Canty said on Unsportsmanlike. If Shedeur Sanders starts the majority of the games this season in Cleveland, is not drafting him the biggest mistake in the Mike Tomlin era of Steelers football? Listen, if the Pittsburgh Steelers passed on Shedeur Sanders and he ends up being the franchise quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, a division rival, that is an absolute embarrassment. That is an embarrassment. That statement is bold since the Steelers passed on Lamar Jackson for Terrell Edmunds. That one will be hard to beat. Pittsburgh Post-Gazette Steelers insider Jerry Dulac appeared on The Rich Eisen show and explained just why the team decided to pass on Sanders. Quarterback was not going to be a priority. They are all in 2026 on moving up and trying to get what they believe to be their next franchise quarterback or certainly their starter for a number of years, Dulac said. And so, I think their plan all along has been geared that way. I know obviously the Steelers thought he had a nice skill set and everything, but I never got the impression that he was high on their list to draft Rich, at any point. At any point. General Manager Omar Khan said the board fell the way it did, which allowed the Steelers to wait on a quarterback. The longer that wait went on, the clearer it became that the Steelers did not love this quarterback class. You never really know. I think we talked about the other day, we're guessing like everyone else. You just don't know, and it just sort of fell that way, Khan said. Khan added that after the team selected Derek Harmon, they got their guy, and that was not a slight towards Sanders or Jackson Dart. It also signals the team likely feels comfortable in their standing with Aaron Rodgers. Tomlin said the team had positive conversations with Rodgers, and it certainly seems things are tending towards him joining the Steelers. Steelers receive significant Aaron Rodgers update ahead of NFL schedule release. ESPN's Adam Schefter provided an update in the Pittsburgh Steelers' effort to sign Aaron Rodgers while appearing on ESPN's Unsportsmanlike on Tuesday morning. The Pittsburgh Steelers' wait for Aaron Rodgers reaches 2 months this week. There also doesn't appear to be an end in sight. NFL insider Adam Schefter, though, projected while appearing on ESPN's Unsportsmanlike on Tuesday that the Steelers might finally get a Rodgers resolution just before mandatory minicamp in June. I think the Steelers' mandatory minicamp is next month. Forget the exact date, roughly June 10th, Schefter said on the radio show, via Steelers Depot's Ross McCorkle. I would think that we would get a decision from Aaron Rodgers shortly before then about whether or not he should play. To me, you can't miss that mandatory minicamp where you start gearing up. I guess you can, but it's not ideal. Schefter's memory served him correctly. The Steelers will begin mandatory minicamp on June 10th. The team's voluntary off-season workouts, though, begin prior to that on May 27th. Schefter's update comes during NFL schedule release week, which is notable because the Steelers will play Rodgers' former team, the Green Bay Packers, in 2025. The Pittsburgh Steelers' wait for Aaron Rodgers reaches 2 months this week. There also doesn't appear to be an end in sight. NFL insider Adam Schefter, though, projected while appearing on ESPN's Unsportsmanlike on Tuesday that the Steelers might finally get a Rodgers resolution just before mandatory minicamp in June. I think the Steelers' mandatory minicamp is next month. Forget the exact date, roughly June 10th, Schefter said on the radio show, via Steelers Depot's Ross McCorkle. I would think that we would get a decision from Aaron Rodgers shortly before then about whether or not he should play. To me, you can't miss that mandatory minicamp where you start gearing up. I guess you can, but it's not ideal. Schefter's memory served him correctly. The Steelers will begin mandatory minicamp on June 10th. The team's voluntary off-season workouts, though, begin prior to that on May 27th. Schefter's update comes during NFL schedule release week, which is notable because the Steelers will play Rodgers' former team, the Green Bay Packers, in 2025. And you fan? What do you think about Aaron Rodgers' situation? Write to us in the comments.